about to see a conversation that I had with one of my former psychology students named Jax. And Jax is so open and so courageous in this conversation. And I wanted to let you know ahead of time, as the viewer in our community, that we do touch on topics like trauma, PTSD, depression, anxiety, sexual assault, and suicide. And I'm telling you that ahead of time because I know that those can be really heavy, difficult topics. And yet I'm so appreciative that Jax didn't shy away from them because I think we need to talk about them. And our intention in sharing this conversation on YouTube is to give you hope and to help you see that you're not alone. So you're also going to see how Jax is now in a place where it's like not everything is perfect and great, but like she is able to dream again. She's been able to get unstuck in small ways. She's been able to find a sense of excitement, and she's even hopeful about what she's working on for the future. And I also wanted to mention too that if you are someone who's struggling specifically with anxiety, we do have solutions for you. There are ways we can help you. We have an online program. Our signature online program for anxiety is designed to help teens and college students like you move forward with the next steps in their education, their friendships, and their career. So if you'd like to learn more about the program, the first step is to click that link that's down in the pinned comment. I'll also put it in the description. It's basically a free training where I'm talking to parents about 3 keys that will help you move forward through anxiety. And I'm also sharing more about the program itself so that your parents can enroll you. And if you're a student, by all means, you're welcome to watch that program. If you're a teen or a young adult, please feel free to watch. Just know ahead of time, I'm talking to parents because they tend to be the ones that take that next step of enrolling you. But you're welcome to watch as well. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Jax. Well, Jax, thank you so much for being with us here on the YouTube channel. So good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. And I know we're in different time zones. We are in different parts of the country. So I'm just really grateful that the strange miracle of the internet allows us to have this conversation. And I always start conversations like this by giving people some context that although I am a psychologist and I've been doing therapy for about 20 years now, you are not my therapy client. This is not a therapy conversation for anyone who's watching. And this is just going to be a conversation between Jax and I. So there we go. Jax, how do we know each other?
We know each other through Vanguard University. I was an undergraduate student there from 2014 to 2018, minored in liberal studies, which is elementary education, majored in liberal studies, minored in psychology. And so took, I believe, 2 or 3 classes with you. Yeah. You were kind of my therapist when I was a student, like unofficially. I feel
really?
like I would always talk to you after class.
Informally.
I'm so tired of listening to you talk, but I'm just going to talk to her. So, yeah.
I have a few very special memories of you, and I didn't tell you this before we started recording, but I do remember you sharing aspects of your story with me. And so that's in part why I reached out to you about, being here on the channel. And by all means, share, whatever you're comfortable with and leave out whatever you're not comfortable with sharing. But I do have this memory as well. And I don't know if you remember this one, but I had a day where I was teaching, and I think like as a teacher or a professor, like if I'm having a hard day, I kind of tried to hide it. Like I thought that being professional and doing my job was like, all right, let's just like keep it together, care for the students, teach the content. And that was like doing my job. And like, I might handle that a little differently now, where I might be a little more transparent about something rough that happened in my day. And I don't even remember what it was, but I remember I got through class. I was like, oh, okay, I made it through. And then you came up to me after class, and I thought that like I kind of hid the fact that I was having a hard time. And you came up and you're just like, hey, like, just wanted to ask, like, are you doing okay?
Mm.
And I think I remember this so vividly, Jax, because for those of us who teach, which now includes you,
Mhm.
I think it's sometimes hard for our students to like see us as a person because there's a power differential and a million other reasons. But like, I was really touched by that you asked me and you were like, oh, yeah, I kind of have a gift for like sensing when someone's not doing all right. And I remember walking away being like, oh my word, she really does have a gift for that.
Hmm. Well, good
So
job, college Jacks.
just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Um, so, I mean, I know we've chatted a little bit about how we know each other, but where else should we start?
Um, wow. So I guess I can share a little bit of my mental health journey and kind of where I am, if that's all right.
Of
Um,
course.
so I think probably in high school, I started noticing there was like a lot of depressive and anxious like thoughts. I also had, you're a teenager, so there's the angst. Um, but I think I really kind of became aware of the hardships of mental health when I graduated high school and I was going into my first year of undergrad, and my stepmom had a psychotic break or a moment of psychosis. And so she truly lost touch with reality and felt like, or looked like she had lost total control of her mind, and had to be taken to the hospital. Um, and ended up going into an inpatient unit, I believe, for about 2 or 3 months, and then came out and did kind of full time outpatient, so 9 to 5. Um, and that I I experienced PTSD from that, and I witnessed the whole event. And then we were actually out of town, so my stepmom and dad flew back to home, which was Northern California, and then I stayed. We were out of the country. I stayed in with my sister, who was 5 at the time, and I was 18, and took care of her for about a week in a different country, and brought her back home. And um, I remember my freshman and sophomore years, I had pretty maybe not severe, but I had pretty um, I had a lot of PTSD moments and triggers where certain colors would trigger me, or I would have nightmares quite often. And um, I think that kind of started this mental health awareness in my life. I think, like I said, in high school, I was aware of a lot of things, but I think things started to click for me in that moment. So we found out her psychosis episode was from a mixture of depression and anxiety with lack of sleep. And so that's been just kind of really fascinating to work through. It's been over 10 years since that happened. And my stepmom was very vocal about her experience and what it was like for her to be in the hospital, and um, kind of recovering from that and what that experience was like. Which, once I started hearing more of her perspective, I was like, whoa, um, that that feeling trapped in your mind and not being able, like, what is happening physically wasn't matching what was happening mentally with her. And so um, I think that experience just really rattled me. And then I think there's a lot that happened at my time at in my undergrad that really led to me starting to feel extremely depressed. Um, and then uh, I became a teacher. I became a middle school special education teacher. And it was really hard. I had a class of 15 middle school boys who were mostly behavior students. And um, it was it was very overwhelming. There was so much to do, and I was unwell. In that season, excuse me, I had to teach all day, and then I had night classes at night to get my teaching credential and license. And I was not doing well. So when the pandemic hit in 2020, I at first thanked it, because if I had to spend another week or two in that classroom, I don't know where I would be. It was rough. And so to be able to have that break, because toward December of 2019, I had a moment of suicidal ideation and called the suicide prevention line, and kind of had to like ground myself in that, kind of find where my bearings were, and like, I'm okay, and work is hard, but it's not forever. But then started going to therapy regularly, and my therapist diagnosed me with severe persistent depressive disorder with anxiety distress. And so, not full generalized anxiety, because it didn't inhibit my daily life. But I feel like I was so scared of letting my anxiety take over, and I had to do all the things, that I think it was affecting me. It was affecting me in a lot of different areas. Um, and so, I also within that have had, I mean, COVID was hard for everybody. I was in a relationship and then had been cheated on
Mhm.
for about 6 months of the relationship. When I was in night classes, he was cheating on me, and
Oh my
found out through a
gosh.
friend, because they were all connected. So that was challenging. I What else? I had in 2020. I think I experienced 8 deaths. Some were due to COVID. Some was from a car accident. One was suicide, and that one
Wow.
wrecked me. I hadn't been in contact with that person in a few years, but we were really close. And it was about 6 months after I had that really low moment and had survivor's guilt, and was like, how come I was able to like overcome these thoughts, and this person, was married and had children on the way, and I felt like had a purpose, and I was like, what happened there? And um so I don't know, I felt so low all the time, and it felt like there was no light ever at the end of that tunnel. And then I moved back to Southern California. So during this time, I'd moved back home to Northern California, moved back to Costa Mesa, and got connected to some friends there, and a church I was pretty a part of at the time. And then um, I could still tell that there was a lot of, I woke up every day just being like, well, I'm here, not feeling great. I left teaching for a little while too, in 2021, right before I moved to Southern California. I'd quit my teaching job. I became a nanny for a year, because I needed a break after teaching during COVID. And I moved to Southern California, and things were better. I started running, which running is really great if you're really struggling with depression. At least I have found. My current therapist is is partially Native American, and which I think is the most fascinating, and I am obsessed with learning from her. But she has taught in the Native American cultures typically is healing, because of that bilateral stimulation of your feet repetitively hitting the ground. And so now when I run, especially longer distances, the last mile and a half, I unplug. I don't listen to anything, and I just allow any thoughts that come into my head to come. And like, I don't wrestle with them. I don't get mad. I just let them come and go. And that is a way that your body can like process that emotion. And so, started falling in love with running, and ran 3 half marathons in a year, and currently training for another one. And um, just really loved that. And so that was like 2021, 2022. But like I said, still just really was feeling low. Um, I also, in that time, was sexually assaulted twice from 2 different situations. One was rape, and one was just like very much inappropriate touch in a very public setting, and would not stop when I asked to be stopped, and didn't invite it by any means, and I don't have to justify that, but and that became really detrimental to just kind of how I viewed life and view people. I still really struggle with typically the male population in our world. I really struggle with interacting specifically with white men, because both of them were white and men, and I have a hard time kind of interacting with. I have a hard time trusting white men, and so and that did not do. I was not okay. I was not well. And the roommates I had at the time were like, "Hey, we're moving, so you're gonna have to move." And as we know, living in Southern California is really expensive. And as a nanny slash teacher, I was like, I can't figure this out, like how to live. And my dad and stepmom and sister had relocated from California to Iowa in 2017, and they were like, "Come to Iowa." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to." But I came to visit and was like, you know what? Why not? Like, I can be a teacher. I can afford to live. My sister is now a 10th grader, but at the time was 8th grader. So I was like, get to, I get to be there for her while she's in high school. I have three other siblings, and they also, I mean, they're older. I mean, the youngest one on that side is 20, almost 21. So I was like, I should be there for my youngest sister while she's in high school. And so I moved out here, and that was hard. I moved in January of 2023, and those first 4 or 5 months were, I felt so suffocated. And moving from sunny Southern California to middle of winter Iowa is not good. I would go to the doctor and they would check my vitamin D levels, and they're like, they don't even register. Like, and I was like, cool, cool, cool. And um, I've also learned that I have PCOS and PMDD. So I have a lot of, basically, long story short, I have a lot of hormonal imbalances, more testosterone in my body than progesterone. I take progesterone, which also affects mood. But things have been, pretty okay. But in September of this past year, I attempted suicide. And I had been really tired and felt really inadequate, and was like, I just kept hearing these voices of like, you are not, like, you are a waste of space. You are not worth it. You don't have value. And I think, you know, for whoever's listening, like, sleep is so important. And especially when you're like in college and a young adult. I'm 28. And so I know that, like, when I'm not getting enough sleep, like, I can't process my thoughts and my emotions properly. I mean, I struggle to do that when I have sleep, but when I don't have sleep, it's really hard. And so I I know I was exhausted and had attempted. um I had woken up the next morning not wanting to, but did. My alarm went off, and I was like, I didn't make sub plans as a teacher. Um, and I have to go to work because if I don't show up, who's going to teach my students? Which is just really funky thinking. Because when I moved here, I became a teacher again. And so I went to work and thankfully had a meeting first thing in the morning, and excuse me, with my direct supervisor. And we were just chit chatting about our weekends. And I was like, I'm actually really scared to be alone. And I don't really like, and she was like, well, what does that mean? And I just kind of shared what had happened the night before. And she called our director of social, emotional, mental health behavior specialist, but she called her, and she called my parents, and my parents came and picked me up from school, which is also very interesting when you're a teacher and your parents come pick you up from school. You're like, this isn't right. But my dad picked me up and took me to mental health urgent care, behavioral mental health urgent care here. And I was there for about 4 or 5 hours, and I met with a counselor, and we came up with a safety plan, and then met with a psychiatrist, and she gave me rescue meds, which was interesting. I had kind of a full panic attack of, I was throwing up and I peed myself, and there's just all these like like
Oh my
just
gosh.
these things. And I also within this time I've really struggled with um probably more anxiety attacks where I spiral in my thinking and then I throw up or I can't calm myself down, and I have to soothe by like curling up in a ball and just whispering like you're okay, or like I'm okay. And um those used to happen a lot, like a lot, probably on a weekly basis. I really struggled to maintain that. And so it just felt really big too in that moment when I was in the urgent care of like, oh my gosh. And then I stayed with my parents for about a week. And then didn't my school was like, don't make sub plans. Like, we'll take care of it. Like, you just take care of you, which I'm really thankful for how they handled it. And I feel like since then, I've been on this journey of learning to see myself the way other people do, learning to like love myself, and that I don't need validation from other people, but how to validate myself. Um, and how to dream again. I think
Mm,
the depression has been so loud for so long, and that's the only way I can describe it, is that it felt like nothing else that I thought about mattered except for those like really awful negative depressive thoughts. Um, I've been on Lexapro now for about a year and a half, and once my event happened, we upped that to the highest dosage, which is like 20, I think 20 milligrams. So I'm on that, and I take a few like supplements, like rhodiola is one of them, which is supposed to help with like mood boosting. And I take levothyroxine, which is for my thyroid to kind of help manage that. And then I take progesterone, which is supposed to help with, hormone imbalance. And um, I think I've also just learned the journey that is mental health, right? Like, I really struggled in high school with a lot of things. I struggled in college. I struggled as a young adult. I'm struggling now as in my late 20s. But I think I've seen a lot of like posts lately of somebody like hiking at a mountain, and there's going to be lows and there's going to be highs, and that's part of the journey. And recognizing that, like, when I have those low moments, or when I feel like I'm not doing well or I'm not progressing, that actually is a sign of progressing. Because if you have to, growth isn't linear. It's going to happen kind of at a pace that works for you. And my body, um, and my brain just like really deeply feel things and kind of process things. And I'm just like, so, um, yeah, I'm just learning how to take care of myself as a whole, and recognizing how all of that is interconnected as well. And yeah, so I would say right now I'm at a place where I can dream again. Going back to grad school. So in that time too, I was also working on a master's. I got a master's in autism spectrum disorders, and then went back to teaching, and now teach with immigrants and refugees. I help them learn English within the public school setting. And so now I'm working on a master's in counseling, and so focusing on clinical mental health. So um, I want to be able to share what I've gone through, not share that with others, but know that I have that background knowledge to be able to empathize with people, and help them grow and learn and become confident in themselves in the way that I've been able to. And it may not look the same for everybody, but I at least can really resonate with with what people may go through. So yeah, that's a little bit of such a small snippet of my mental health journey, but that's kind of where I'm at now. So
my
yeah.
goodness. Thank you so much for sharing, Jax. And I'm, just experiencing such a mix of emotions hearing you share this, because I'm in awe of your courage and your willingness to share and to open up about what you've been through. And I'm also just heartbroken as someone who was your teacher, and yeah, to learn about what you've been through, even since that time that we knew each other in class. And yeah, I'm just so sorry for everything that you've been through. It's almost unimaginable that one person has been through so many different forms of trauma and so much depression and then the anxiety as well. And your story intersects with mental health in so many ways, in the sense that, you were struggling in high school, but then to have your stepmom have a psychotic break, and then you have PTSD as a result of that, and then everything that you and your family went through after that, you caring for your younger sister, I think you said sister, right? And then that you had a friend who also committed suicide. That was one of 8 deaths that year. You've experienced sexual assault twice in 2 different forms. I mean, and then to attempt suicide, this is just unbelievable. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. I
Of
appreciate that.
course. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't love all the things I've gone through, but I have been able to be thankful for each situation to an extent. I think the sexual assaults I still really wrestle with. I think I'm still healing from the attempt. I often refer to it as my episode, but I think I don't know. I have been really able to have such beautiful conversations with people and with my students. And I had a student recently share with me that she's attempted when she was back in her home country because of the wars going on there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I've been able to really just and I shared with her that I had attempted. And I know, being a teacher, I probably, should, kind of keep some of those boundaries, but I never want anyone to feel alone. And I think as I've gone through these different situations and I mean there's so much more too. Like I grew up with my stepdad who had cancer and lost his job, and we just had so much. Like I feel like I've been given this gift of recognizing how people are feeling and being able to be like, yeah, I can relate to some extent, right? Like I may not know exactly what it was like to be in a war torn country, which is also just a whole other conversation. But I do understand that feeling of helplessness and alone, and that there's no end in sight. And so I can relate on that level. And like, you are not alone in that feeling. And so, yeah, I think that relatability is so important to me to connect with people. I think there's so much power in like vulnerability and sharing and um, helping people become aware that mental health is so real, and that it's not just in people's it's not just in your head. I mean, it physically is in your head, but I think there's a lot of physical symptoms that come with mental health, and it's also connected. And so I think being able to be an advocate for that is, um, and being able to say, like, I've experienced it. So, like, I don't have to go find somebody and be like, oh, they've experienced this and listen to their story. It's like, no, 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 I've experienced it. This is why some of these things are important. And so, yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing more powerful than experience. And I have no doubt that you already have been such a powerful advocate for mental health, and that you'll continue to do that in the future, whether it's just because of who you are and the people that you meet in your day, whether it's in a role as a teacher or going into counseling, becoming a counselor as well into the future. Like the experiences that you carry, not only the pain, but also the lessons learned. Um, I think that's just going to speak volumes without even having to use words. Like when you walk in a room, people will feel that from you.
Thank
Yeah. And also, like you sharing your story now and this video going on YouTube, like we never know who's going to find this, right? We never know who's going to watch this and be like, oh, wow, like Jax went through things that were similar to me, and like she's here, you know?
you. Yeah. Yeah.
I do have a few questions for you. You've mentioned like twice being able to dream again.
Mm. Mhm.
How have you recovered your ability to dream again?
I think that's been a phrase I've kind of become giddy about. I remember talking to a friend of mine who um, were like long distance friends, and I remember talking on the phone with her and saying that phrase for the first time, and then just being so excited. And she goes, "That's amazing!" And like we have a agenda, so we have like a shared notes app, and we write down everything that happens in our lives. And then when we talk on the phone, we go through our agenda. And she wrote in all caps, like "able to dream again." And I think that's just really stuck with me. But um, I think for so long I was in survival mode, and I think living in such a negative mindset. I mean, I woke up and was like, I hate myself and I'm a terrible person and I am, the worst person ever. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. And so I think I lived in that and dwelled truly in that identity of how terrible I was and that I just needed to get through each day with my really challenging teaching experience and my you know, the pandemic and then financially trying to make it in Southern California and um, identity after being cheated on and the assaults. Like I just felt very stuck. I think that was a lot of my hesitation about moving to Iowa was feels very stuck here. Like there's like it's easy to get to other places, but like not really fun places. Sorry to the surrounding areas of Iowa, but it's I just felt so stuck and I hate that feeling. And so I was talking to so I'm now dating somebody and I've really gotten to know my partner's family and when my partner's cousin was telling she's a mental health therapist and so she was like I went to this university that's here in Des Moines called Drake and was like she is a school-based therapist and was like I think Jack she would be a really good counselor. And I was like, I've always wanted to. I think when I was at Vanguard, like I think I did really want to go into the counseling world, but I also knew myself and knew that I like so empathetic. And so I take on other people's emotions so deeply. Um that teaching I'm thankful for teaching me how to have those boundaries with myself of I can really care for these people, but it's not fully up to me to solve and fix. And it's really not for me up to me to fix these things, but to just be a support system. And I think once that clicked and having that conversation with my partner's cousin, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna apply. And when I was in the process of applying is when I attempted. And so I was like, should I even continue this process? Like I'm clearly not okay to be able to like be in a place to help other people. But my therapist currently and my partner's cousin was like, no, but I still think you should. Like because of your experience and you've come out of it, like there's gonna be so much power in that. And so then it's gotten me really excited about I love going to classes at night. I teach all day and then on Mondays and Tuesdays from 5 to 8 p.m. I'm in class and I love it. And this summer I signed up for classes and you know, I just I love getting to learn how to be a support for people and I mean, sure you can tell I'm lighting up as I talk about it. And what really got me excited was working with the student population I work with. So, like I mentioned, I'm an English for speakers of other languages teacher. We call it ESOL. And in that, I work with immigrants and refugees, and a lot of them don't get mental health support and are just kind of thrown into okay, you start school here, you have to learn language, you have to learn all the core content, you have to try and fit in. And as they're leaving some very traumatic experiences, that I hear the stories and I'm like, the United States has a lot of issues, but we are so blessed compared to what other countries are dealing with on a day to day basis. And um, I just look at it as an honor to serve these students, and they go through so much, and they're just placed in the middle of Iowa, but also in the middle of the United States, where there's not a lot of diversity and not a lot of people that look like them. And then um, they get put into special education because they're not learning at the typical, rate of a student. And I was like, no, 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 there's trauma. There's trauma, and we need to work through that. And there's just such a shortage of helping, people, that I just lit up with the idea of, when I get to help and learn and grow from these incredible people who've experienced so much and are so inviting and so welcoming. um, I love my job so much, but I also am excited that I get to dream of becoming a counselor one day that gets to work with this population of people, or this community of people who have experienced so much. And um, I really want to write articles about some of the things that I've learned and what I've experienced, and maybe someday a book. Or um, I've talked to some people about having a podcast or something similar to this YouTube platform. And a lot of friends, which they're my friends, so of course they're going to be a little bit nicer to me, that were like, I would love to hear you talk. And then my therapist was also like, you would be really fun to listen to because you're intellectual in a fun way. And I was like, what a compliment. And so um, I never would have dreamed of being able to do any of those things. And if those happen, great. And if they don't, that's okay. But I'm finally at a place where I'm excited for what's to come. And it's taken a long time to get there, but excited for the future and the uncertainty of what's going to happen, and the beauty of the world, and being present in each moment is super important. But I'm able to be more present because I'm excited for what's coming, whatever that may be. So
It's very obvious, as like you literally are lighting up as you're talking about this and talking about the future and learning about counseling. And like the I think the room that you're in, like literally more light came into the room. It was kind of wild. Like
mm,
I don't know if that was the sun or you flipped on a lamp or something, but
yeah.
it was happening. I'm so excited for those ideas, Jax. And I think, like you said, like you can be open-handed about it, like whether those things happen or not. Like what matters is that you are in a relatively better place, that you are excited, that you are dreaming again. I would love to hear you have a podcast. I would love to read your book.
Thank
Whatever
you.
you do, I hope you keep in touch with me and like let me know so that I can like shout it from the rooftops and just celebrate um, what you do. And I did want to ask you too, because I can see excitement in you and I can see you lighting up. And I'm assuming that that's relatively much better than where you were at in September.
Hmm.
If someone was watching this and let's say they are in a really dark place, um, and they are thinking about even taking their life, they're thinking about suicide, what would you say to them?
I think the phrase that has helped me is, you are made for so much more than what you think you are. I hear the phrase made for more a lot in my thoughts. So um, I, yeah, that I think when we struggle and we're in those low moments, because I still have those low moments, not as low, but I still have moments. I, I think we know ourselves really well, right? Like we know every thought that we have and we know how we feel about things, but that isn't like, not everyone sees that. They only see what we share. And I I think I started earlier, maybe before we were talking, I talked about wishing or hoping to see myself the way other people saw me, because so many people were like, you bring so much value and you aren't a waste of space. And that's also something you should hear, that if you're struggling, you are not a waste of space. Um, I believe that we're all here on earth because we each have a gift to bring to the world and to the people around us. And even if it's just to one person, then you are a gift to that one person. And um, I lost my train of thought, which is classic. But yeah, I would just say that we are made for more. And how you might view yourself is not how the world views you and um but also within that, I feel like I'm not articulating what I want, but within that, like, there's so much power and importance of learning how to validate yourself and find value within yourself. But in those low moments, it's hard to do that. So I would just say you're made for more and you are not a waste of space. So, yeah.
Uh, Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's incredibly powerful that we are made for more, and none of us is a waste of space.
No, it's actually from Harry Potter.
Oh,
um,
yeah.
yes. Have you read those books or,
Mhm.
in the last book, um, Harry is talking to the family, no, the Dursleys, who he lived with, his aunt, uncle, and cousin, right? And um, he was like, "They think I'm a waste of space. They don't care about me." And Dudley whispers, and Harry, it was like, if I hadn't seen his mouth moved, I wouldn't have believed it. But Dudley, his cousin, who had been awful to him, had said, "I don't think you're a waste of space." And I have heard somebody talk about it before. Actually, a Vanguard alum, he has it tattooed on him, and I remember hearing that and then rereading that section of the book and finding so much power in that, and that has been something that I think is so beautiful that everyone needs to hear, is that you need to be able to hold space for yourself in this world, because you are not, oh my gosh, excuse me, you are not a waste of space. And so, yeah.
You are not a waste of space. And I think all of us need to learn how to take up space.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
And it's amazingly difficult. I would say I still struggle with like, how do I show up in the world? How do I take up space?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that could be done in small ways of, um, I think I'm learning some of the things I'm also excited about is like advocacy. Like I'm learning that I love advocating for others, and for myself. But I mean, taking up space could be writing letters to politicians, or even just writing a letter to a friend, or, you know, having hard conversations with people around you in a respectful way. Like, those are things that we can do in every day, or just when you see somebody at the grocery store being like, "Hey, I really like that top on you. It looks great," or "Hair's really cool." I think those are like small ways we can take up space in the world. And I think taking up space to me means encouraging others and recognizing the light that we bring to the world. So,
Yeah. Recognizing others and the light that we bring to the world. And I think that requires being visible, right? And like,
yeah.
you have to be okay taking up space to do that and to bring the gift into the world, like you said, that we are here for. Um, and when you're talking about advocacy, I was like, oh, Jax is a champion. Like,
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think the job that I'm in now, being a special ed teacher, I really learned how to advocate for my students and what they needed. You have a lot of people that are like, they don't need that or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, 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 but they do. And then in the job that I'm in now, working with students from all over the world, and I also teach in a pretty affluent white community. I really spend a lot of time speaking up for my students and what they need, and teaching those around me that we're all human, no matter what we look like or what we wear, you know, what religion we practice or don't practice. Like, we're human. And I think there's also beauty in teaching my students to advocate for themselves as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's been really interesting to find that love, of being like, I actually really am thankful that I get this job where I get to speak up to community around me about, um, my students from all over the world. So,
yeah. So you have that advocacy role with them as well. And I think we are all human. I really think we are, unless we're AI. I don't know. I'm not AI. I'm not an avatar.
I'm not.
Okay, I'm glad we clarified that for
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
on all
We
the
need
good
that
people
I'm
of
not
the
AI
internet.
button, when you have to like go
Oh,
to a website and it's like I'm not a robot. You're like, I'm not AI.
I once heard, John Mulaney, the comedian.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
just had a really funny bit about like he was looking at the captcha like to check, I'm not a robot, and he was like, "Am I a robot? I don't know anymore. I'm not sure."
Yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah, but I have found that that is actually a recurring theme in these conversations I'm having with guests on the channel here. Is that I've noticed we keep circling back around to like what it means to be human,
hmm.
what it means to embrace being human and have human limitations. And yeah, humanity. I mean, we're living through the AI revolution, so I think in a weird, ironic way, we're all kind of grappling with like, oh, what does it mean to be human, and how it's beautiful to be a flawed, imperfect human.
And what does it mean to critically think? I think is also interesting. I feel like in our current society, there's a lot of we have AI helping us, or um, just kind of the climate that we're in of I'm just gonna follow this thing or believe this thing because it was on the computer, or was on AI, or on from AI, or on social media, and um, it's something I'm noticing within students too. Is there's no more this time to think, to truly think without like having a distraction or without having an immediate answer. I say this all the time with like social media and with students. They get so mad at each other and they're able to like quickly send out a text or post something on social media about that person. And I mean, when I was in school, we didn't have cell phones. So you had to go home after school and you were mad at them and you had to process and think about your emotions and how you're feeling. And then once you calm down, you're able to be a little bit more rational and then have a conversation with them the next day or whenever that was. But now we don't have that, not just students, but as a society, like we don't have that time anymore to just like sit and process and think through our emotions or information that we're constantly getting fed. Um, and so I think that also plays a role too in just, my mental health of, being on my phone all the time and not allowing myself to have that space to really think about what's going on around me. And I think that's why I love running so much, is because I'm not on my phone and to enjoy what's around me. And yeah, anywho, sorry, that was a tangent, but
No, I actually really love the topic because I'm still grappling with like how do I help people around social media regarding mental health. Um, and there's a book called The Anxious Generation that's like all about social media and its impact on mental health. And so I've been grappling with that and trying to not take an all or nothing approach, right? Like phones are clearly part of our society here. Uh, there are some people who I think for a subset of people, they just should not be on social media and they know it. So, like, some of my therapy clients are like, I deleted Instagram, I deleted TikTok. That's what I needed to do. And I'm like, great, more power to you. Like, let's go with that. And I think for other people, there might be kind of a third way of like, instead of just like always being on social media or never being on social media, how do we kind of live with it, but still have like,
mhm.
have it be life giving? But also, I was going to say, Jax, I love running. And I'm a fan of the half marathon. So if anyone would ask me like what I do for my own health, including physical and mental health, like running is usually like the first thing that I would say.
So, yeah,
It's like therapeutic
yeah,
in a way that nothing else is. So I very much resonate with that as well.
yeah. My therapist is also a runner, and so it's like so fun to be able to like talk to her, and she uses a lot of running analogies with me, and I'm like, I get it, I understand, and so it's good.
It's just like so rich with metaphors, like even for
Yeah.
mental health, like for me, I've been a runner for a long time, recreational runner for a long time. And even the past month, I've been like, oh, I actually need to slow down. Like, and that's okay. And
mm,
if I speed up or go too hard, like that's actually counterproductive to my health or what my body needs right now. Yeah, there's just so many like
yeah,
things I learned from running, you know?
yeah.
So
Mm,
yeah. I did want to ask you, and this will be my second to last question,
okay,
because I know we're in different time zones and I want to be
yeah,
respectful of your
thank
time.
you.
So second to last question. In this conversation, I noticed you use the word stuck a lot, that there were a lot of times you felt stuck, especially like around the time you were moving to Iowa, it sounds like. But I just thought that people who are watching this might benefit from hearing like what helped you get unstuck.
Mm. Ooh, that's a good question. I think I had to find little things to look forward to, whether it was a phone call with a friend or somebody that I trust. I learned how to hand embroider. And then running, and I love watercolor painting. I'm really bad at it, but I really enjoy that. Um, I think I needed to find hobbies or things that I enjoyed that were small and didn't require a lot of me. Like embroidering, I'm literally just sitting here and like poking, you know, the needle through the fabric, and I could watch TV if I wanted to, or I could listen to a book or sit outside and I could take it with me, and it was something small that I could get excited about, um, which I think helped me move forward little by little. I think sometimes we think we need this like big change, which in my case, yes, moving to Iowa was a very big change, but I had felt stuck long before that, and I felt stuck after moving here. Like I am also very afraid of being stuck, and my poor partner now has to deal with me all the time, being like, "But what if we do this, or what if we do that?" And I don't want to. He's like, "Slow down, one day at a time," um, which is great that that's where I'm at now. But I think finding hobbies or people that you can um, just be excited for, and bring you little bits of happiness or joy, um, to not feel so dark and stuck. And I think feeling stuck for me also felt really felt like being alone. Um, Cliche answer, but like staying off social media for a little bit or limiting that time. I know there's apps out there, which I don't know the names of them, but I'm sure they're easy to find. But there are apps you can download where you can customize how many times you're allowed to open up an app or how long you can be on an app. And I know if you have an iPhone, like you can build those in with settings, but there's also other apps that I have a friend who uses an app where she's only allowed to open up Snapchat twice a day, and she gets a notification like at a time where she can check it, and um or not even notification, but just I think that's helpful, to limit that, because I think feeling stuck was comparing myself to other people, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, so and so gets to work from home and she gets to travel the world," or "Oh, well, these people, are getting married and, having kids, and not that I necessarily want those things, but what am I doing? I live in the middle of nowhere, Iowa." Um, and that was such like a hurt to my ego too. Yeah, that's something I'm definitely processing too. But I think just finding those little things that made me excited, that kind of like sparked little bits of joy. I learned how to cook a little bit more, than basic things, and that was always really fun. I really enjoy food, and so being able to find um, new ways to cook, and that's, you have to eat. So whatever that is, you have to eat. So how do you make that a little bit more enjoyable? So yeah, I think, oh, I got a sourdough starter, and I her name's Poppy, and I
Her name is Poppy.
yeah, I
Where did
really
you get her from?
a friend of mine was like, "Here's a little sourdough starter." So you have to like, it's like a pet. You have to like feed it, and it's like a 3-day process,
It's
which is a
it's
big,
alive.
but it's alive. So I think that's been fun for me. Um, I know I said to limit social media, but there is an app called Finch that I love. It's if a Tamagotchi used to be a toy that you like took care of this little
Mhm.
animal. Well, Finch, you like put your daily goals in, and you get to check off the goals, and then your little bird grows, and then you get to like customize where they live, and it's like a mental health app. So they'll have breathing exercises and things to do too. Those were small things. I actually downloaded that the day after my episode, and used that to kind of help me. Like, I have to take care of my Finch is named Luna. I have to take care of Luna. So like, um, I think finding the things. I know I'm a caretaker. I know I need um, structured creativity, which don't go hand in hand, but embroidery is like structured creativity of like, this is the pattern and these are the colors. And so, um, yeah, I think finding the things that work for you that just give you a spark of joy um, can go a lot further than you think. And it takes time. I think that's something I had to remind myself is I'm not going to be better tomorrow, or I would be like, I need to do all 6 of these things to become a better person and to be better and be healthier. But I think small things that you do one at a time or a couple at a time over a period of time to where you recognize, okay, I don't have to conquer the world in a day. Um, I think it's important to remember too. I think that's a lesson I've had a hard time learning, but starting to understand is I don't need to have 500 things I change tomorrow. It's one thing and really focus on that one thing and then add something else. And so, but yeah, finding what works for you in small doses.
And to use a running analogy, one step at a time, right?
The one step at a time for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing at a time, one
Yeah.
step at a time. And okay, so it sounds like some pieces of getting unstuck were just finding hobbies and people that brought you even a small sense of excitement or joy, and then having that spark and being able to just have one thing at a time, even if it was like the Finch app, um, which I love the idea of that app. That's really cool. I hadn't heard of that.
It's so fun.
Um,
I love it.
and another one you mentioned too is limiting social media, which
Mhm.
I think is wise. I use an app called Opal to limit my social media,
Oh, yeah.
so it's been a pretty good one. I've appreciated it, but there's a lot out there. There's a lot of different options, like you said. So
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, final question, um, which we've kind of touched on a little bit here and there, but for every guest who's been on the channel, this has been my final question. So, what do you wish you knew when you were younger?
Hmm. I don't know. I think the first thing that came to mind is you're going to be okay. Um, yeah. I that and it's okay to be yourself, no matter who likes it and who doesn't. I think my parents were never married. They split up when I was 1. Um, and then my mom got married when I was 2.5, and my dad got married when I was 7. So I grew up going back and forth between the 2 homes. And so I think little Jax didn't know how to find her identity because at one house she had to act one way and at the other house she had to act another way. And um, I think there was a lot of fear of, and still, there is still a lot of fear in this, but I think it's okay to be yourself and you don't have to please everybody. In fact, you shouldn't please everybody. Um, and that there is so much beauty of being fully confident in who you are rather than trying to play a part for other people. Um, and so, yeah, I think those are kind of my big lessons that I wish younger Jax knew is that I was going to be okay. And that who I am to my core is beautiful, and that it doesn't matter other people's opinions, or what I think other people's opinions are, um, shouldn't influence me, because I am enough. I am beautiful. I am valuable, or I have value. I'm not a waste of space. Like, I think I need to know that. And I think younger Jax would have done really well if she had recognized those things a lot sooner. But I'm thankful that 28-year-old Jax has learned those and is able to walk a little bit more confidently. I'm not 100% confident in who I am all the time, but I'm getting there, and I'm taking steps and working on that. And so, yeah, I think it's what I wish I knew a little bit more of when I was younger, for sure. Yeah.
Jax, thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was so good to see you. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Of course. As always, there's so much that I learned from this conversation with Jax. And looking back at my notes, I mean, there's just so many takeaways here, but you are going to be okay. You are not a waste of space. It's okay to be yourself. You don't have to please everybody. And in fact, you shouldn't please everybody. And there's so much beauty in being who you are. I'm so grateful to Jax for this conversation. I hope it's of so much benefit for those of you who are watching and our community, and that it gives you hope for the ways in which it might intersect with your own story. As a reminder, if anxiety is something you're specifically struggling with, we can help you with that. We have a signature online program designed especially for teens and college students to help you move forward with the next steps in your education, your friendships, and your career. So the next step is to share that link in the pinned comment with your parents so they can learn 3 keys for helping you move forward, and can also learn more about the program and enroll you. So thank you so much for being with us for this conversation.